The last quarterback that I looked at and went, that kid's going to be a star, because I don't do that very often. The last quarterback I looked at and on the radio said that kid's going to be a star was Lamar Jackson when he came out of Louisville. That was the last guy I felt this way. I still think Jaden Daniels is going to be a guy. However, in watching Jaden Daniels, and this is not me backing off of that prognostication, I'm riding it until the wheels fall off. Jaden Daniels looks unpolished. Jaden Daniels looks like there's some work to do cleaning up particular aspects of the game. One of those being as a runner. And this was the big knock on Jaden Daniels going into the draft, remember. The big knock on Jaden Daniels going into the draft was he runs too aggressively. He runs into contact. You can get away with that in college football when you got Vanderbilt's out there on the schedule to take a break. You ain't getting away from that in the NFL, where the third string linebacker is as bad as every dude you played against in college, with rare exceptions. It's going to take some time, I think, for Jaden Daniels to pick it up. And let's say the same thing we said about Lamar Jackson. Very aggressive, very unpolished. And part of that for me comes from a situation in college ball where your team leaned on you so much that cleaning up your game was actually going to be detrimental to your college football team. And I think that's what happened at LSU. Polishing Jaden Daniels, making him more of a NFL prototype quarterback would have actually made him worse for Brian Kelly and LSU. So they just let him stay rough, because while every coach during the recruiting process is going to tell a guy, hey, my job is to get you ready for the NFL, young man. No, it's not. That coach's job is relying on winning games at the collegiate level. If he can get you NFL ready, spectacular. That's fantastic. But that ain't his job. His job is to go 12-0 and win a national championship. And I think that's at play here for Jaden Daniels. So I think there's going to be what a lot of people are going to say is a bit of a learning curve for Jaden Daniels at Washington. It's not a learning curve. It's a polishing curve. It's going to take him getting blown the hell up when he thinks he's got a run lane by an all-pro linebacker for him to go, oh, the holes close a little quicker at the NFL than they did even in the almighty Southeastern Conference. I'm going to have to figure that out, and I think that he will.
And the bells will be ringing. Bells will be ringing.
Bingo.
His bell will get rung.
It might be his own bell that gets rung a couple of times. You are spot on accurate with that. Here's what I'll tell you I'm doing with Jaden Daniels. I'm going to let weeks 1, 2, maybe 3 pass by the Washington Commanders, and then I'm going to look at those numbers, because I think it'll be a slow start for Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to have a couple of games where he's kind of finding true game speed, because, listen, the preseason is faster than camp. The preseason is not NFL 4 quarters against all-pro linebackers on the other side. So I'm actually going to let Jaden Daniels get 2 or 3 weeks in the back pocket. And if it bites me in the butt because Jaden Daniels comes out and looks like a rookie Pro Bowler in 1, 2, and 3, so be it. It bites me in the butt, all right? Even as a guy who's confident in him long-term. But I'm going to let the first 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks pass by, because I think there's going to be a bit of a slow learning curve for Jaden Daniels. And if I am right, Pat Boyle, maybe we tease those numbers down a little bit. Maybe 3,150 ends up looking more like 3,000. Maybe 18.5 passing touchdowns if he has a couple games early that he doesn't get any. Maybe 18.5 gets teased down to 17.5, maybe 16.5. And I think he's got a big second half, but I get the same value on those numbers. I think that's going to be a play for me for Jaden Daniels particularly.
I like that. And I like your mindset. And that was an excellent point, what you said about how there was going to be a polishing curve, because, Brian Kelly and most college coaches aren't preparing you to have an NFL skill set. They're preparing you to have a college football skill set and maximize the advantages that you will have. Like you said, in rare exceptions, speed, strength, where that's not going to be the case in the NFL. He also had the advantage of Malik Neighbors being his wide receiver, who, I don't know, just happened to go 6 overall, 4 spots later to the New York Giants, who looks like an absolute stud, who looks like it wasn't just Jaden Daniels that he benefited from. It was a little bit of both. And at times, Jaden Daniels benefiting from Malik Neighbors. And that's not taking anything away from Scary T, Terry McLaurin, because Terry McLaurin is a dog and he's a dude. And we know that he is going to make Jaden Daniels absolutely better in every sense of the word. But you get my point here. So I like your strategy. You want to wait a couple of games before you maybe place bets on his over-under yardage and his over-under touchdowns, which, again, Jaden Daniels, 3,150 passing yards is the over-under. 18 and a half passing touchdowns is the over-under as well. I'll tell you this much. If I am going to make a preseason bet on Jaden Daniels, it's going to be the passing touchdowns. I do think 18 and a half is rather low. And as much as he at times was a dual threat at LSU, to speak on what you said, he's not going to be running. There's not going to be a lot of times where he's taking off, running over the middle, or trying to pick up a touchdown with his legs. Like you said, when you know that if he gets his bell rung once or twice, he's going to say, okay, you know what? I don't want to go down with a torn ACL. I don't want to go down with fractured ribs. I don't want to go down with a broken clavicle. Let me sit back and really polish myself, make myself as good of a passer, thrower of the football as I possibly can. So I think that plays into the overpassing touchdowns. And then I think too, sure, Washington's got a decent run game. Like, Brian Robinson is a very decent running back. They've got Austin Eckler. And we know that if anything at this stage in his career, Austin Eckler probably is going to be nothing more than a pass-catching running back, unless he totally rejuvenates, to 2, 3, 4 years ago. They're using him as a third down pass-catching running back. So that helps Jaden Daniels, whereas, there might be plays that, could be runs, but instead they're designed as little passes, some trickeration to get Austin Eckler to catch the football in motion and get him going and kind of get as much speed as you can from him. And again, what are the Commanders supposed to be this year? Sure, they could surprise and become a playoff team, but more likely than not, this is a year to develop Jaden Daniels and take a step forward as an organization for the first time in how many years? So I don't think the Washington Commanders are going to be too concerned with, hey, it's second and goal from the 3. We need to try to get the ball into the end zone. I think Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn are saying, hey, how can we figure out a way to accelerate this development for Jaden Daniels? How can we drop as many plays designed for him to throw the football, to get him comfortable in those pressure situations, second and goal from the 3, third and goal from the 7? We got to toss the pigskin with the kid, right? We got to let him spin the bean. We got to let him spin the pearl this year because we want him to develop more so than anything else. So I think just those reasons alone plays into the fact that I like over 18 and a half passing touchdowns. I don't think that's necessarily a high bar for somebody like him, who you and I both really, really like the future of, to get over here this year. Let's talk a little bit about Caleb Williams, because he looked pretty damn good. And Caleb Williams, I think both you and I are also in lockstep that we don't necessarily think that highly of Caleb Williams. I've said before on these airwaves, Pat Boyle and Rob Brown, I don't know if you've said it, I think Caleb Williams is going to be a bust, right? And to me, bust is defined as a guy that gets taken number 1 overall, undisputed, that in the first 3-4 years doesn't have a lot of playoff success, if any. Isn't really moving himself into top 5, top upper echelon quarterback category in the first couple of years. That's where I constitute Caleb Williams. But he looked pretty damn good, man. That one throw he made to Cole Kmet was an absolute bullet. The throw on the run that blew everybody's nips off. He proved he can use his legs. So, and Chicago, he's got the benefit of having really, really good weapons around him. DJ Moore, they draft Roma Dunze, they add Keenan Allen. It's an offensive line that has struggled in years past. I would think I'd be hard pressed to say that the Bears' offensive line is once again going to be the worst in football. But who knows? It's the NFL. One injury, one key injury to that offensive line, it could ruin everything. But Caleb Williams, 34.75, nearly 3,500 yards you need for his passing yards to go over, and the passing touchdowns 23 and a half. I am very hard pressed to bet either of these, especially when you consider the Chicago Bears are expected to be a fringe playoff team.
I don't know if you're a Hard Knocks guy. I'm a Hard Knocks guy. I still enjoy the Hard Knocks. It's not what it used to be. All right. Those first few seasons of Hard Knocks, when they were real gritty, when you were watching guys get cut from the team, like they were brutal. We don't get that anymore, but I still like the show. I still like the development feature, the focus. Caleb Williams has impressed me a little bit as a dude because I did have some concerns. Now, I am not one of these cats that's like, oh, he paints his fingernails. He can't get it. Grow up. All right, grow up. The guy painted his fingernails. So who cares? I'm not one of these guys that goes, oh, he was crying on the sideline, and that I don't care. He's a high level competitor whose expectations of natty or bust got shattered by the fact that his defense couldn't stop anybody from scoring 1,000 freaking points under Lincoln Riley. So I'm not mad. I don't care. None of that has an impact. I like Hard Knocks. Nick Saban was on the episode of Hard Knocks talking to Eberflus. And by the way, I'm glad all of you forgot that his head coach is still Eberflus. Like, we're all just going to let that guy off the hook because he had a mini hot streak at the end of the year. You still have Eberflus. Like, good luck with that.